As you can see, I'm sweating, so we all got up at about 7 this morning, or we're ready to start cleaning the boat. And it's now 10 o'clock, we're just about to leave to get to the fuel dock to fill up the boat with diesel. But all the cleaning downstairs is pretty much done. The last thing I need to do is just wipe down the floorboards, the sole boards. Here in the salon, in the forepeak, in the forward cabin, that's already been done. Due to COVID, we had to wipe, all the bulkheads, all the ceilings. We had to sanitize with Milton solution, which is sort of an antibacterial spray. We sprayed all the mattresses, left them out to air and dry off, and pretty much everything has been wiped down. Door handles, all surfaces, the lockers inside and out. So it looks very clean. I think this boat has not been as clean as it has been in the last couple of years. Probably not as clean since it came out of the factory, because it was a bit grimy in parts, but on the whole, it looks nice and tidy, and hopefully we'll pass the inspection without any complaints right first time. So I'm going to do this in parts because I'm just going to show you the forepeak, which is obviously the front cabin, which is the biggest one, the most spacious one. Paul and Dee were sleeping there. It has a lot of locker space as well, as you will see in a minute. But it's you got side shelves. It's quite nice because you also have good standing height for taller people. When you're on anchor, this can become a little bit uncomfortable because obviously the boat, if there are waves, the boat will bounce up and down in the front. So while it's a great cabin, I sometimes actually prefer to sleep in the aft cabin. Even though this week I was in the salon here, which I will show you as well. Let's start with the forepeak. So this is it. This is a double bed. Most people sleep probably with their heads here, their feet back there, because as you can see, this is quite low. Then you got nice shelving here on the side where you can just put personal items. We got some extra cushions here. See that? We got a small reading light here. Let me open that locker for you. So we got hanging space, and they're quite deep, so you can put shoes in and whatever else. You got a couple of shelves, little airing slits to make sure there's air circulation in case you have wet gear in there. These are the top 3 lockers. Obviously, with the shape of the boat, they become smaller and smaller towards the bow. This one's quite a nice setup because you've got a mirror here, and you got like a little, I don't want to say extra chart table, but like a little, table where you can sit, extra space down here. And then you got some more lockers here underneath the bed where you can also, that's blocked. You got drawers to put things in. This one I'm not going to open. This has all been cleaned. This is all nice. And I do the rest once we're finished here, just before I leave the boat. Then you can get an idea of how the rest looks like. So as you can hear, the engine is running now. We have just cast off to go to the fuel dock, but I'm just going to show you now one of the aft cabins. This is actually where our skipper for the week, Imogen, was sleeping. So this is the starboard side. So as you look forward to the front of the boat, the right-hand side of the boat, cabin, aft cabin. As you can see, we have taken up all the mattresses. They're still airing out. All the boards, everything was wiped down. This one has standing space here in the front when you first get into the cabin, and a nice big locker. But apart from that, it's quite small. This is also the place where you get into the engine compartment, in fact. So this is where the engine is running. So when you do the engine check in the morning, this is one of the hatches you need to access. There's another hatch here, down here, which you can't see, but it's because it's a bit dark. And another one down there where you actually see where the shaft from the engine goes down to the propeller. So that's a hole in the hull, which you want to check every day to make sure that hole is actually properly sealed and there is no water ingress. Then we carry on with the galley, which is the kitchen on board a boat. So everything has really different names compared to a house or an apartment. You got a cooker here, which sits on a what's called a, let me just try to undo it, on a gimbal. So when the boat is moving with the waves, this cooker is actually rocking backwards and forwards, which otherwise you can imagine you wouldn't really be able to cook. Oh, this is where the little thing is. Okay, we got it back in. Then we got a little compartment here with utensils. Got little lockers here, glasses. This is where we kept our tea bags and coffee mugs. Then bowls, soup bowls or cereal bowls in the morning for the morning, and then some plates for dinner. We had a nice storage compartment down here with a train in it, so you can actually store wet things in here, a cutting board, an extra cutting board. The sink, you can see we're still in the process of cleaning a little bit. And a quite nice big fridge, which is very good, with a small freezer compartment. And that's the galley. A bin, storage spaces where we kept all of our cleaning stuff. Yeah, and then really the salon. So this is where I slept. You can actually pull this board out and put an extra cushion in there. That's the one that you saw in the forepeak in the front cabin. So it's actually quite a nice big bed once that cushion is back on. Some storage space back here, and back here. This board even has a television, which we didn't use at all. You got some curtains, some hatches on the side. You got a fixed hatch here, which you can't open. But we got a forward hatch here, which you can open. Got a little clock and a little barometer, so to get an idea of the air pressure. And then under these benches, you got actually lots of storage space, which is very useful. So for instance, in this one, just to show you, this is where we keep the life jackets. This is our clips when you go out on the foredeck in wavy conditions, or really when you're out of harbor. You want to click on, because sometimes there are waves that you don't see coming or you didn't expect. So just to prevent people really from going overboard, ideally. But if you went overboard, you're still attached and clipped to the boat, so you wouldn't really drift off. This is the chart table. This should really always be kept completely clear. No food, no drink, because you got charts, you got your logbook here, other things that you want to be really careful with. You got your electronics control panel, where you can obviously switch different devices on and off. For instance, the fridge, the mast lights, the navigation lights, various other bits and bobs. We have a radio and a CD player on board. Then we also have a VHF radio, which we obviously use to communicate when we went into a marina. So this is all turned off at the moment. We got another navigation instrument where we can see, switch through different screens. You can see speed over ground, you can see the strength of the wind angle, various different things on this one. And then this is our temperature check bag. So this is the chart table where you have the charts inside, a little plotter, pencils, a handheld compass, an almanac, and then various boat papers, marina guides, more charts, and then the health and safety file, and the big charts for the Solent, which we've all used this week. Then up here, almost last but not least, you got another cabinet with first aid kit, a big one, a small one, 2 torches which you need to have handy in case you arrive in port quite late and you need to shine a light and just help yourself, orientate yourself with a buoyage, how to find your way into the harbor. We got binoculars, we got a Ray Marine, which is the navigation instrument, instruction manual, and we got all the different manuals for the boat. So how everything works. So if you're in doubt or you have a fault somewhere, and need to do a small repair or replace something, then you can actually find that in the manual. This table here folds up and locks into place, so it's quite a good salon space, quite comfortable to sit in and yeah, have dinner. It's quite a good layout for a boat, I find. This is what's called the companionway, where you go up, obviously up to the top of the boat. Should always be kept clear and dry. And I will show you the other aft cabin. So again, same layout as the other one. I won't open that. The interesting thing here is you also have an electricity shutoff, a fuel shutoff, and a battery isolator. So when you actually leave the boat, you can turn all of these off to ensure that all the electricity is off, the fuel is off, and we have another trip switch, which is for the windlass, so the anchor motor winch that basically puts the anchor up and down. In case that trips, you can flick it back on with that little extra flick switch here. Yeah, that's all of it below, and I'm just going to show you the rest of the boat just before we leave, because it will be nice and shiny and tidy, and you will get a good idea. So that's the boat that we had for the first week, which was an Oceanis 37, a Beneteau Oceanis 37. Nice boat. I hope we're going to be on a bigger one on the 455. But it is what it is. But you know, we had a good week. I think the smaller the boat is probably quite good to get a feel for the handling and get back into things, especially for me in tidal waters, which I'm not really used to. So no, on the whole, a good week and a good boat.
We were there, weren't we?
Yeah, it's the same guy. It's exactly the same guy. No, it's exactly the same guy. Traffic jam at the fuel dock because the guy shut on us yesterday. So boat is nice and clean. We just need to scrub the cockpit before we get off. That shouldn't take too long. And everything else has been done. Look at that boat, Paul. Look at that boat.
What boat?
This one is beautiful.
Yeah, but we've now got seaweed up here, footprints there. We need a little bit more.
So this is the mast. This is our lazy bag where the sail is in, so it's all been nice, nicely zipped up.
We also raised the main, shook the reefs out, put it all, flaked the sail away very nicely, so the next people who come on the boat are going to find it superb.
Thank you very much. That's the way a boat.
Problem, Captain Ed.
That's the way the boat should be left, nice and tidy. The spray hood's going to be up before we leave, and yeah, we're going to be really ready. So this is the last bit of dirt back there, and finished. And we will be about an hour and a half early.
Ed,
Yeah.
when you post that,
Yeah.
No, you're still filming.
Yeah, I am.
No, no.
Now that the engine is actually off, I can show you the engine compartment so you get an idea how that engine looks like. It's basically like a diesel car engine, not much different, but you know, anyway, I want to show you how it looks like. So in order to do that, you need to open the stairs going up the companionway. The companionway is blocked! You open this up and then you got the engine right here. So the starter battery is down here. This is one of the things we need to check every morning. So you do what's called a wobble check. You check water, so you check the coolant, which is in that container there in the back. You make sure it's close to the full mark. You check actually the water filter, which is here. That's the seawater filter. It's that little clear top that you can see there in the back. I'm zooming in a bit. This is actually where the seawater gets pumped in to cool the engine. So that strainer that's in there needs to be clear of any debris to make sure that the engine gets cooled properly. You then do a general visual inspection of the engine, just make sure all the hoses are on. There is no loose hoses of any kind. You just check that the fuel lines is clear. So you have a fuel filter, a pre-filter back there, and then you have a fine filter up here, this one in the middle. You of course check the engine oil, so you have a dipstick here like on a car, so this bit here, take that out, just check the oil level. Then you also check the belts, so that's part of the wobble check. You make sure these belts are nice and tight, give way about 1 centimeter when you push them in. And yeah, really also check the rear of the engine. So you take all these boards out that I showed you in one of the aft cabins where it was a bit dark, but you can essentially access the rear of the engine from there and just again check that strainer from above, make sure it's all clear. You can take this panel out here on the side to access the other side of the engine. Again, it's always good to keep the engine compartment nice and tidy and clean, so you can immediately see at the bottom if there are any fuel leaks, any oil leaks, any other spills of any kind. It makes it much easier to trace and make sure you understand if anything is not going the way it's supposed to go. So that's the wonderful engine. You also have a fire extinguisher up here. And obviously an exhaust, like just an air exhaust, I think that just sucks out air as well. So that's probably the air intake actually, because the exhaust fumes will get cooled, so will get mixed with the cooling water that's being sucked in from the sea and then is spat out the side. So one of the things, once you start the engine, you want to make sure the cooling water is running through the engine. You check if there is actually any dark smoke coming out that would give you an idea that the engine is burning oil, but generally that's all covered by what's called the wobble check. So since the boat is nice and clean on the whole, I thought I'd just give you the tour of the outside now, because we have, as you can see, a lot of stuff sitting on the dock. We're just getting ready to leave the boat ahead of the inspection, but the cockpit still needs to be washed, but pretty much we're done. So I thought I'd just do this now. So start with the front. You have your anchor, obviously. You have your windlass, which is a chain which helps you to put your anchor out and back up. You got different cleats along the boat, both sides, running back to attach your lines. You got what's called a pulpit, so these are rails where you can actually also pull the boat, for example, when you're walking the boat alongside the dock. Obviously this is a bit far out, but then you can see here the hatches from above, our Genoa sheet. So this is our foresail, a Genoa. Genoa it's called when it actually overlaps the mainsail, so the sailing surface is quite big. The sail is not quite as big, it just kind of stays in front of the mast. It's called a jib. And yeah, as you can see here, our mainsail is here in the lazy bag, nicely tucked away. All the belts tightened. All the lines look pretty tidy. I think this one probably needs a bit of cleaning up or clearing up. But on the whole, everything has been done very nicely. It's all nice and clean. Yeah, go back to the cockpit. So this is a jack stay. This line here, this is where actually when you in windy conditions or wavy conditions, you go out to the front of the bow. You should always clip in with your clip. This will really help you avoid going overboard. There are obviously parts of the boat you should always hold on to regardless. So there's one saying, one hand to the boat when you make your way forward to just stay safe. And also another thing to consider is like you should always stay in the high side. So basically the side the wind's blowing from, to stay well out of the way of the boom. Finally washing down the cockpit now. We've already closed the hatch, the companionway, so that's all done because it's nice and clean down there. So you got the cockpit table. You should never bring really any charts or anything up here because they might get blown away overboard. But this is quite a nice, neat little locker to store, for instance, drinks or items, sunglasses, whatever else you may need during the day. Seats to sit on, the steering wheel, your cockpit up here. You got navigation instruments. So this is a chart plotter, essentially a GPS. yeah, sat nav, like in a car. You got a compass here. We got what's called a windex, so this is showing us the wind strength and also the direction the wind's coming from, which I can probably explain in a bit more detail later. And this one would give us trip details about how far have we traveled, our speed, our depth, and various other things. Then on, okay, I'm disappearing in a second. Yeah, I'm gonna go this way. Thank you. Yeah. Locker on the side here, so this is where we store a couple of items, so for instance our lines, also a bucket, our emergency tiller, so in case the steering on the boat should fail, for instance one of the cable snaps, you can actually have a big metal handle which you can put into this bit here, so you open this and stick the emergency tiller in and then really steer the boat with that, so the rudder of the boat is here under the cockpit, but you can use that to steer. Under this locker we have our life raft and also our gas bottles. Brian's chasing me away, and this is where you control the engine. So this is essentially the engine. It gives you the revs, and also then you can start and stop button, and also this the off button of the engine, off and on button. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. The winches, the forward winches, the two main winches. So this is where you take the main sheet, the genoa out, and you tighten it to adjust it in line with where you want to go and your point of sail. This line here releases the genoa from the front, so this is a furling line. You have to open that clutch, and then you can pull the genoa out and actually let it run out. Yeah, the lines I'll probably explain another time, but just so you get an idea of the boat. And it will be nice and spick and span in a second, so I'm turning off now to get out of the way of these guys.
You want us to help you?
The boys are coming back, so that's Trake 3. They've just been to the fuel dock after us. But just to give you an idea of how the boat looks from the outside, obviously we got a bit of a transom down here, a ladder to get on and off, a little folding seat. You can remove these back cables here. Just zoom in on these two back cables here at the well, basically what's called the stern of the boat. So if you take these off, you can actually just walk down here. There's a little step there, or you can see the life raft, and also that little plastic containers where the gas bottles are stored. So life raft would really be a last resort. So if we ever had to abandon ship in an emergency situation, for example if it was in fire, you want to get that life raft ready. Make sure you tie it on before you throw it in to ensure it doesn't float away. And then ideally you can step into the life raft. You don't really want to get wet and try to clamber in from the water. So ideally, yeah, you have it attached to the boat. You can step in and then, let go of the boat if it's about to sink. The outside, and I think I mentioned it was a Jeannot earlier. It's actually not. It's an Oceanis. What sort of make of boat is this, by the way? It's a Beneteau, isn't it? It's Beneteau Oceanis. And yeah, this one is on charter from Fairview Sailing, which is a charter company in the Hamble. And here we have again our boat name, C'est Bon. The bow. Lines all nice and tidy. And Flo from the other team is on our boat now, trying to attach themselves to us, because they're coming alongside and rafting up to us. So that's it. That is the boat that we had for the first week. It's actually nice to show you at the end because it looks nice and neat, and all the luggage and everything is out of the way. So hopefully you got a good idea of what this boat was all about.